In 1976, a body was flown off a private jet in Acapulco. 6'4", but barely 90 pounds. Hair down to the shoulders. Fingernails curled like claws. Broken off needles buried in both arms. The FBI couldn't identify him. They had to take fingerprints to be sure. It was Howard Hughes. Once the richest man in America. A man who broke every aviation record on Earth, dated every star in Hollywood, and built an empire worth billions. And he died in the dark, alone, terrified of the world he used to own. This is the story of how the most powerful man of his century disappeared, while he was still alive. Howard Hughes was born in 1905, in Houston, Texas. His father invented a drill bit that could cut through solid rock, and the patent made the family staggeringly rich. Howard was a strange, brilliant kid. He built Houston's first wireless radio transmitter at 11. He had no interest in school, and every interest in machines. Then everything collapsed. His mother died when he was 16. His father, 2 years later. By 18, Howard Hughes was an orphan, and the heir to one of the largest fortunes in America. Most teenagers would have been crushed. Howard did something colder. He bought out every relative who had a claim on the company, took total control, and walked away from Texas. He had unlimited money, no parents, and no one left to tell him no. That combination would build an empire. It would also destroy him. Hughes went to Hollywood with a simple plan. Make the biggest movies anyone had ever seen. In 1930, he released Hell's Angels, an aerial war epic with real planes, real stunt pilots, and real danger. It cost nearly $4 million, the most expensive film ever made at that point. 3 pilots died during production. Hughes was obsessed. He res-hot scenes endlessly. He demanded clouds in the sky for the dogfights, and when there were none, he moved the entire production to find them. The film was a sensation. But it revealed something that would define his entire life. When Howard Hughes locked onto something, he could not let go. Not for money. Not for safety. Not for anyone. It looked like genius. It was also the first sign of the illness that would eventually consume him. But Hollywood was never the real dream. The sky was. Howard Hughes didn't just buy planes. He designed them, built them, and flew them himself. In 1935, he pushed an aircraft he'd built to 352 miles per hour, the fastest any human had ever flown. The last time in history a plane built by one private individual would set the world speed record. 3 years later, he flew around the entire planet in just 91 hours, shattering the record by almost 4 days. New York gave him a ticker tape parade bigger than Lindbergh's. He was, for a moment, the most admired man in America. Then came July 7, 1946. Testing a new spy plane over Beverly Hills, an engine failed. Hughes crashed straight into a residential neighborhood, destroying 3 houses. He pulled himself out of the burning wreckage with a crushed chest, a collapsed lung, cracked ribs, and third-degree burns. Doctors didn't expect him to live. He did. But the man who climbed out of that fire was not the same man who climbed in. The pain never left him. And to manage it, doctors gave him codeine. That was the beginning of the end. On paper, the next 2 decades were a triumph. He controlled TWA and turned it into one of the great airlines in the world. He bought RKO Pictures. He built Hughes Aircraft into a defense giant. He moved to Las Vegas and bought it, hotel by hotel, casino by casino, transforming the city from a mob playground into a corporate empire. He was worth billions. He was untouchable. And behind the curtain, he was falling apart. The germ phobia came first. Then the rituals. He'd wash his hands until they bled. He demanded staff wrap everything they handed him in layers of tissue. He ate the exact same meal, prepared the exact same way, every single day. In 1947, he locked himself in a screening room for 4 months. He didn't bathe. He didn't cut his hair or his nails. He sat surrounded by stacked tissue boxes, eating only chocolate and chicken, watching movies on a loop. The richest man in America was living like a prisoner, in a cell he built for himself. By the 1960s, almost no one saw Howard Hughes anymore. He ran his entire empire by handwritten memo, from inside blacked-out hotel penthouses, windows sealed, no sunlight allowed in. He watched the same films over and over. He watched one movie, Ice Station Zebra, an estimated 150 times. He was addicted to codeine and Valium, injecting drugs with needles that sometimes snapped off and stayed in his arms. He weighed barely 90 pounds. His advisors controlled everything he saw, everything he heard, and everyone who got near him. The most famous billionaire on earth had become a ghost. A rumor. A signature. A voice on a phone. People genuinely wondered if he was still alive. He was. Just barely. And completely alone. On April 5, 1976, on a plane heading to a hospital in Houston, the city where it all began, Howard Hughes finally died. The richest man in America. Killed, in the end, by himself. Here's the part that should stay with you. Howard Hughes could do anything. He had more money than entire nations. He flew faster than any human alive. He built planes, studios, airlines, and cities. There was no door his money couldn't open. And none of it could save him from his own mind. The same obsession that made him fly around the world also locked him in a dark room for the last 20 years of his life. The thing that built the empire was the thing that buried the man. But there's one final twist. Hughes had quietly poured his fortune into a medical research institute. And today, decades after his lonely death, it's one of the largest funders of biomedical science on the planet. Billions of dollars, still working to cure disease. The man who died terrified of germs is now helping the world fight them. Howard Hughes spent his life trying to control everything. The planes, the films, the money, the air itself. In the end, the only thing he couldn't control was himself. And that's the part of him that finally won.
If you like this video, please consider to like it and subscribe to our channel, and it will help us to create more content like this. Thank you.